Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Vibhuti Jha. We are now in the last 10 days of the election campaign, and we will soon know the results in as to who is going to occupy the White House next, whether it's going to be Mr. Trump back in the House again, or Mr. Biden who will sneak in there. So the question is very clear. 2 years of royal battle, the mudslinging, the fighting in the gutter, the highs and the lows of behavior, we have seen them all, and now it is all coming to a final conclusion. So we had the debate, we discussed, we saw how both the participants performed. In my opinion, it was a wonderful debate because both the candidates articulated their point of view. You may agree with one more or the second one less. That's all that is there. But there were certain highlights of the debate. To discuss the debate, the possibilities of who is going to occupy the White House, I have distinct pleasure in welcoming 4 panelists today, 2 ladies and 2 gents. One gentleman is a technology person, that is Ravindra Shukla ji. Ravindra Shukla ji, welcome. And we have Vandana Mangalick ji from Minneapolis. She is an entrepreneur and a highly educated lady from Banaras originally. You can see from the backdrop of her profile. And then I have 2 doctors. Dr. Krishna Bhatta, who is in Maine, he's a urologist and surgeon, and Dr. ShobaChokkalingam from Chicago, who is a heart specialist. So we have everything taken care of, the highs and the lows, and all the panelists, I would expect them to share their thoughts frankly, without fear. So, express yourself, share your thoughts, and don't hold it back. So let the viewers know where you stand with reference to the debate performances. So Shobha ji, I'll kick off with you. So share with your thoughts about the debate. Who won, who lost, or was it a draw? Is there anything in the debate that caught your attention? Or is there something in the debate that was below the par? Go ahead, your shot first.
Thank you, Vibhuti Ji. First of all, let me start by saying it's a great pleasure and honor indeed to be on your show. I really look up to you for your lovely professorial touch and your scholarly, thought process, which teases the mind of the listener and then looking for more. So thank you for having me on the show. And likewise, my greetings to the co-panelists as well. Indeed, it's very landmark that the Indian American community, we've kind of thrown ourselves into the election process in the United States. And this is a very welcome change, first of all. As far as the presidential debates, the last one, which was held yesterday, it was indeed very well made, and also actually an enjoyment in watching, because like you said, both of the gentlemen articulated well. And finally, we were able to get out the policies as told by each president and also the rebuttals. First of all, let me start by saying I was a Democrat in my past life, and I'm converted to a strong Republican candidate now for supporting our President Trump. What was first shocking in that was the blatant lies put forth by presidential candidate Biden when he said the trade deficit between US and China has actually increased during Trump's presidency. Now, I know for a fact that that is not the case. With China, our trade deficit has dropped, all thanks to President Trump's effort. And so I just thought that was not the real data. And I think even the Washington Post couldn't agree more, which usually supports, the leftist narrative. That was the first thing. And I just thought, in terms of the debate, President Trump enumerated a lot of things. For example, when it was about the oil and gas industry, and Biden wanted to completely stop it because he wants to go with the green theory by 2035, President Trump hit a sixer there, saying, are you listening, Texas? Are you listening, Pennsylvania? And, those are the things that matter for regular Americans, day-to-day Americans. And definitely the debate brought it out. And this is what we wanted from our president, to let Joe Biden speak, because I feel they are more about attacking our President Trump rather than having constructive plans for a good administration.
That's brilliantly put. And I definitely take the conversation further with your acute observation about the the policies about oil industry that Mr. Biden will do. And you said Trump hit a sixer. In the US, I'll say he will hit a home run by saying that, watch out Texas, watch out Pennsylvania. And there were several issues that came very important for me. Mr. Biden talked about character. And I'm a believer in the concept that character and competence are not necessarily correlated to each other. You can be a great doctor and you can be a lousy father. I can be a lousy father and a great banker, and I can be a bad banker and a great father. So the question is, these competence and character have no correlation. And I'm definitely saying that no politician is 100% kosher. दूध के धुले नहीं होते कोई भी. Important part here is that Biden in 1988 had to drop out of the race for reasons of plagiarism. Now he hijacked the words of British member of parliament, and he was quoting American presidents as if it was their own statement. So if you notice in the debate yesterday, he almost repeated what Obama had said in his campaign. We are not red America, we are not blue America, we are United States of America. He co-opted that, right? So as a vice president of Barack Obama, it's okay, you can co-opt, but you can see the streaks in him that he wants to pick those things. So character is important. And I think Biden falls flat on the character front if he's proposing himself to be a character guy, because he has lied, he has had his own murky past, including the Hunter Biden scandal. Remember one thing, he didn't deny that. He only said, I didn't take any money from a foreign source. But if you read between the lines, it takes me back to Rajiv Gandhi's Bofors scandal, in which Rajiv Gandhi said, I haven't taken in money, my family has not taken in money, but then it was sitting with Quattrochi. So think about it from that point of view, that how does a character role play? So Dr. Bhatt, I will come to you with this, that in terms of character, in terms of capability, who do you think has the best chance to revive the economy, which took a downturn post-COVID?
Vibhuti Ji, thanks for having me here, and it's great to be with the panelists you have. Great people there. It was interesting while the debate was going on. I was texting with some Republicans, and as we had talked, you and I had talked before the debate. Can Trump keep himself quiet? And they were all texting, okay, don't get nervous or don't get excited, and he did. He was throughout, he kept his calm and cool and responded very well. So as far as character is concerned, I still not clear what did he quote Abraham Lincoln there. And that was kind of, out of nowhere, suddenly he started quoting Abraham Lincoln, and as if, some people are saying that he probably quoted him in a wrong way. And the whole thing of in the 90s, his policies caused problem with the race problem with the African-American population. And that, I think he fell for it. He said he will correct it when he becomes a president. And that I don't think went well for Vice President Biden's candidacy. That was my take on it, that, he was, the thing that I noticed is that it seemed like at times he was fumbling when he didn't know, what to say. And then he did call President Trump name this time as well. I didn't get that saying, but that was not a very appropriate saying in my view. So I don't know, even if you take character as a, as a criterion, whose character is better? I was not clear that Biden was any better than President Trump.
You are very correct, because what is happening is that, they're overplaying the factor that Trump is not much liked. So they're playing the character factor, and he has been flamboyant, in terms of aggressiveness and everything else. His third wife is here he's married 3 times. So the question is that character part, there were a lot of stories that came about him, but so was it for Bill Clinton. So was it for John F. Kennedy. So the question here is that what exactly are we talking about character? So Vandana ji, if I may invite you here, the question that I have in my mind that I want to check with you is that, do you think Trump made an impact by making the comparison of 47 years of Biden being in the swamp and 8 years as vice president? Because vice president opened the can of worms for himself when he talked about that I will fix immigration in the first 100 days. And that's where Trump jumped in. And you, some of you who have watched my program, I have been saying this ever since, that each time Biden talks about, I have to fix this, I have to fix that, I have to fix this, whether it's Black Lives, Veteran Affairs, soldiers dying, economy, everything, I have to ask Biden only one thing. Where were you for last 8 years as vice president under a black president? And what were you doing for 47 years in totality in Washington swamp? If you didn't fix something in 8 years as vice president and 40 years in DC as senator, what gives you that people will buy your lie that you can fix it in 100 days?
From what I understood, if you saw 2 days ago, President Obama was campaigning for Vice President Biden, and he kind of made a whole a scenario of the fact that, you know, if people ask me, did I get rid of racism, systemic racism? I did a lot. It's better. Things like that. It was almost like two people were playing in the court, and Trump was playing alone against these two people. Biden keeps bringing President Obama as if he is not able to stand on his own 2 feet. You know, whatever you were was not, you are not Obama, you are a Biden. And then maybe as an afterthought, you know, he came up with this thing that I'm going to take care of Obamacare, it's going to be Biden care. That was such a sad show of, you know, putting, and I understand, because until 6 months ago, I was a diehard Democrat. I like to call myself an independent now. Shobha ji and I have talked about this 6 months ago. I was trying to Shobha ji that, you know, वो एक कहावत है हिंदी में कि निकलना खुल्द से आदम का सुनते आए थे हम बड़े बेआबरू होके तेरे कूचे से हम निकले. You know, that is the feeling I have for the Democrats. They've literally disenfranchised, disempowered, completely taken us for granted and kicked us out of the door in such a bad way. The way the Democrats have gone in bed with the Islamists and the communists is just apparent and extremely concerning for people like us who've lived here, like you. I've come in 91. Here was Mr. Biden wearing a blue tie against this man who was wearing a red tie. And they're talking about blue and what you are wearing blue. You're talking about blue and red America, but we are United States of America. You are showing yourself as a blue person. You are doing such partisan politics. You are doing such vote identity politics. You are talking about Muslim, Muslim, Muslim. I am going to take the ban out of the Muslims. I'm going to bring the Muslims, as if, you know, other people in this world, there are 6 major religions that are represented in America. And there was no say about any other religion. No, and then and you know that I am very angry with the Democrats because of these CAA resolutions all over. But look at the blatant way that Mrs. Kamala Harris, or you know, the vice presidential candidate, she sits on a interview and she says, "I'm a Baptist. He's a Catholic. You're going to have this second president, Catholic president." Hello, if we even say Modi say Hindu once, you go at his throat that he's Islamophobic because he's calling himself a Hindu. And you sit here and you talk about Catholicism and baptism. And I'm sorry, I get so irritated with this kind of, but I have to say that yesterday's debate, I felt, was extremely low on histrionics and fun factor. But the first time we saw President Trump could be actually a regular thinking, very presidential looking, very regular kind of a well-spoken man. Towards the end, when you know, things started heating up, he started rolling his eyes, and you know, he became the regular Trump that we know from his apprentice days. But I thought that President Trump really showed himself. He's clever.
It's great to hear from somebody who has left Democratic Party for a good reason that you have enumerated to that. So, I appreciate that your thought, your candid, views that you expressed about it. So, Ravindraji, there was one thing which, stood out for me in this particular debate was that how Trump was very calculated, very measured in his sentences when he said that, Joe, because of you and Obama, I'm fighting the election. You guys failed. That's why I fought the election. If you guys had been successful, I won't be here. So, give the glimpses. So you are a hardcore supporter of Trump. I can see the banner behind that you want Trump Sarkar back again. That's a good thing to see. So you have two ladies who have converted from Democrat to Republican, and I congratulate you for your boldness, both of you. So
Thank you.
Ravi, you go ahead and tell us about that specific aspect and what stood out for you in the debate.
Thank you, Vibhuti Ji, for inviting me to this program and sharing my views. So definitely, we are talking about what exactly happened in debate 2 days back, and how Trump was making his point, how Biden was making his point. So we need to understand one thing: Trump is, again, I say him like no nonsense president. He knows how to drive a message. When this guy, when Biden starts talking about I'm going to do this and that, and then simple question: what he has been doing till today? Who is the outsider? Who is in this whole group? You are participating in this Washington DC since 47 years, and you have been in a very powerful position as a vice president. Did you impact any foreign policy? Did you stop any war in the foreign country? Did you fix the black life in US? Did you fix the economy? So there were multiple. So when he drives a message, he simply says 47 year versus 4 year, what have been doing? 47 versus 47 months. And people get that point. Many times there is no need to explain every nitty gritty. You just hit the point and message goes across to the people. And Trump is very effective. People may not like the way he look and talk and all that. That is immaterial. His policies are speaking for him, and he stands with his policies. So those are I'm saying, if you are already decided, you are very biased towards certain things, no amount of data is going to change that. But if you start comparing what has been done before and what Trump has done in last 4 years, data speaks on itself, and he just points those data, and it was very effective. No need to defend yourself, just let your work talk to the people.
Talking about the work part of it, you are totally right that I find that Mr. Trump, has taken very bold steps. One of the things that came out, one of the agenda items was leadership. And, somebody said the other day, don't give Trump any credit. It is corporate America that did it. So I asked him the question, did Trump lower the taxes? And Biden has already said he's going to increase the taxes. Where is corporate America? There is a function of leadership here. There are actions that require leadership. And that's what is important, that we have seen Trump act. He's gone beyond preaching. What I find is Democratic Party has a remarkable similarity to Congress Party in India. They love to keep the issues alive. Solve nahi karna hai. They love to keep the issues alive. So long as the issues are alive, the gullible will keep coming back to you. That's something which I know firsthand basis. So Trump has been fixing the problems. I came in this country in 91. Ever since I have heard every single presidential candidate talk about fixing Washington. Nobody did anything, including Obama. Nobody did anything. They all became part of the establishment. So starting with you again, Ravindraji, because you came last on the last leg, I'm starting with you on this leg, is to ask you, who do you think will be more effective in dealing with economy? Because economy is a very important element. Economy, 56% of the people in Gallup confirmed that they were happy under Trump in the economy matter, 56%. And the economy has two distinct time frames, pre-COVID, post-Wuhan virus. Your thoughts?
Very good point, Vibhuti Ji. So we need to understand Trump has been in the business for quite long. So when you're trying to fix the economy, we need to see in multiple angle. If fixing economy doesn't mean like giving free money to the people. Fixing economy means you are going to create more job, uncontrolled by the government. You are going to empower the small business owner. You are going to make the policies more flexible. You are going to lower the taxes. So government doesn't have any business to just take the money from one place and put to another place. And then the way like we deal with, as you said, the Congress party in India, freebies.
Right.
So long-term fixing, as we know the saying, like if you want to like give a food to a person, don't just give him a fish, like give him like a fishing rod so that he can go and get the fish every day. And that is what Trump means when he's talking about giving more like a practical tax break to the corporate world. So they are going to generate, they are going to internalize the revolution within the country, which is going to promote the all kind of business when people are going to get engaged and people are going to be happy and engaged. It's just the freebie comes and goes. And if you look at the real part, he is fixing some of the very critical thing in healthcare. We know how like bad was Obamacare, how the way it was implemented, the whole thing was taken. So he always hits, he's trying to fix where the things are broken and which is controlled by the government. But he's trying to make the corporate more independent, so like medium and then small scale business more independent, where there is a more natural capitalism, no natural transaction between the workers and between the employer, and it can sustain on its own. So those are the real way to fix. Giving the freebie is no way to fix anything.
Vandana ji, thank you very much, Ravindra ji. Vandana ji, I'm coming to you with a very specific question about the campaign. And one of the things is that we Indians here are to live a decent life. We don't like violence. But your city experienced amazing violence, whether it was Antifa. It also was controlled quickly by Trump's intervention that happened there. So, as a mother, as a business owner, violence is never good for a mother or father or parents and children. It's never good for small business owners. You are not a small business owner, but you run a successful business of your own. Share with us your thought how did Antifa, the Democratic Party, they virtually encouraged violence in the name of freedom of expression and belying the freedoms of other people to operate without violence. I have a right to operate in an environment without violence. Nobody talked about that. So share your experience about this and how the Indian community must respond to that challenge of that Democratic Party virtually encouraged violence.
Thank you, Vibhuti Ji. I would like to take all credit and blame for it, but I can't. My husband jokes with me and says that in 91, when you left India, India started getting better and America started going down ever since you came to America. So that is right. I have lived in Minneapolis for a long time. We have never seen these kind of things. We always associate these kind of violence with either Los Angeles or New York or Chicago, but we never, it was a very different city when I came here. And I have to say that we've seen a lot of, unmeasured, accidental police, Black people getting murdered. And excuse me, we have elected all Democrats. Last time I voted all Democrats, top to bottom. We have all senators, governor, the mayor, the councillors, everybody's Democrat. We thought that we were speaking against what we thought was a Republican Party parachuting in Trump, and we needed to tell them that we are a blue state, that we believe in fundamental human rights and everything. But what we find now is that this Democratic Party is extremely incompetent, or they have gotten very easy with their things. And so I believe that the reason you saw so much violence is because anger of regular people is coming out on the street because people are asking and demanding our public officials, especially the Democratic officials, This is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. This has been going on for too long. Last time this happened with Philando Castile, the city ended up paying $20 million in restitution. Another person was killed by the. Now the police chief is a black man who happens to be Democrat. The governor is a Democrat governor. There is a black mayor in St. Paul who is also Democrat. There is really no reason why these people cannot do better with their police reform and law and order. And I think I went for many marches with my kids. I was scared for my kids, so I didn't let them go alone. I went with them, marching with them. I did not let them to go to these violent, but for the first time in my life of however many 29 years, I have been scared. I've been very scared. I was roaming around my house, bolting my doors, because it was like how we were used to riots in India. You know, you did not know what was going to happen next. You were literally sitting by the phone and by your doors because it was so scary, and it all started here. And what's funny is I was so angry with the CA resolutions that happened on the 20th of May in St. Paul against India and actually Hindu Americans, I thought. And 5 days later, there is this huge debacle of this horrifying murder on camera. That was almost like such an the most ugliest thing that I last remember only Daniel Pearl going through that in Pakistan, you know. And all hell broke loose. It was like the underbelly was exposed. Everything came out. Everybody just lost it. And I think it is more a reaction to the Democratic leadership. I have a hunch that this time Minnesota is not going to be blue. This time Minnesota is going to really tell that we are very angry with the Democrats, including myself. I just feel
That's a very fascinating point you mentioned there, because I have a few friends in Minnesota who are doing well in life, and they are Americans, white guys, and they say that.
You can include another one now.
And they said that yes, you are sure, and so you have a beautiful city, Minneapolis. I have been there a couple of times too. So they said it's going to turn red in the presidential election. It's going to break record. I'm coming to the same on the violence thing, the violence thing from your city of Chicago, Shobhaji. And I want you to comment on that Chicago looks like there are certain sections of Chicago. Killing is a happy hunting kind of a thing. Let's shoot two people here, let's shoot two people there. What's happening in your city, which is again Democratic control, and all the Democratic control, Baltimore has gone to the winds. Everywhere, wherever Democrats are ruling, look at Chicago, look at San Francisco, look at Los Angeles, my favorite places, and they are all gone haywire. I want you to address that Chicago violence, and I also want you to come back to begin the conversation so that I can go to Dr. Krishnaji. What the coronavirus, which is very important issue in this time. It has somehow along the line become a central issue, economy and coronavirus. So comment on that as well, as to what Trump did and what he could have done better. And in my opinion, Biden would not have done anything better than what Trump has done. So your thoughts.
Well, as far as Chicago, it's very sad, almost like what Vandana ji alluded to. I love Chicago. Everybody loves the city they're in, but I think Chicago is a world-class city and it has a heart. I love New York as well. New York is my very favorite spot, but there's something about Chicago, the Midwest hospitality, the touch of Midwest joints. So when you see a lot of violence in Chicago, whether it's during Antifa or not, the incidence of guns, shots and murders have been increasing. There was a lull, and again, it has increased. And unfortunately, the leaders, they have not been able to rein it in. The Chicago Police Department recently, they are supporting President Trump. See, President Trump is the one who wants to defend the police, not defund the police. And this is very important. We are all, as you mentioned, law-abiding Indian Americans who have come over from India to the United States. And we look up to America for the law and order that's provided, for the structure that's provided. So it's very sad that over the weekends at night, you're not able to safely step out to Chicago downtown to have a good time there. And with COVID, it's a ghost town. And now there are a lot of security folks with guns outside restaurants. So that makes people very uncomfortable. And there are many articles being written about whether Chicago will come back to its glory because of the work from home phenomenon as well. Now the number of people, actually the footfall in Chicago has also been going down. So just like any other democratic city, the offer from the president to send in the military to control the riots has been turned down by the democratic leaders, unfortunately. I feel we have to put the safety of people, we have to put the law and order above everything else. And this is the time to work with the president. When corona is raging outside, you should make your best not to allow this kind of rioting, big groups of people. But that's exactly what happened way back from, summer. Now, that is the sad situation about law and order in Chicago. And I think that speaks for, say, Portland, where within half hour, they could control it only if the Portland Democratic officials would only allow President Trump's offer for military, input. Now, going on to COVID, first of all, I really want to congratulate President Trump for the steps he's taken. I saw how hard he worked, be it daily morning reports, be it engaging different organizations, be it NIH, CDC, with Fauci, and also making America a powerhouse in manufacturing of PPE. And, everybody was blindsided, let's face it. And President Trump had the foresight to stop all the flights from and to China, despite the Democrats like Nancy Pelosi accusing President of xenophobia, which is very sad because I remember distinctly Nancy going to Chinatown in San Francisco to celebrate the Chinese New Year. Nobody said a word about the social aspect, cultural aspect, Chinese New Year. We are just saying there is a problem, and from there, we have to stop transmission. And that's exactly what President did. I feel the Democrats had an agenda to kind of a witch hunt on President Trump, whatever he did for COVID. And that is the truth. And there has not been a sincere, heartfelt move by the Democrat leadership to work with the President of the United States at a time of a pandemic that is killing people. As a physician, I find that very appalling. Here they are putting a ransom on stimulus again and again and trying to, negotiate between this and that when American families are waiting, for a stimulus bill. That is very not right. And I think President Trump has taken great initiatives. He himself had, medicines like remdesivir, and then he went out and had the antibody treatment, and he's feeling so well. And he's a very positive person. I think he wanted to reassure Americans while making preparations on how to handle it. That's a true leader. He was not, intentionally downplaying anything. Even when there were 2 or 3 cases, he right away sealed the borders from China. Now, most of our cases from New York, we must remember, came from Europe, but that was all Americans returning home. So what we could have done better, first of all, testing. I mean, if we could have quarantined anyone and everybody who stepped into America for 14 days until we got a testing available, that would have lessened the amount of viral load that entered the country. Having said that, I will say that the organizations, the NIH, CDC, they were responsible for developing the test. They messed up royally. We lost about 4 to 5 weeks. They had to start from scratch. There was a congressional inquiry into it as to what happened, and then they botched up the test. So that's not President Trump's fault. So I think the Democrats have an agenda of pinning President Trump, however well he did. I think he's done wonderful, tremendously well when a very deadly virus hit us blindsided. And I think he was brave enough to call it the China virus. And I totally agree with him because that's when he got tough with China on the trade deals. And so I would commend the president on his efforts. And I really want to pray for all the lives that were lost. It is not intentional by any means. Definitely, whatever best a country like America could do, we've done it. And the American people should really appreciate for that.
That's wonderful. It is very comforting. It is reassuring to hear your thoughts because you are speaking right from the heart as a professional, as well as a woman, as a mother, and somebody who knows things inside out. On the same topic, Dr. Bhatt, I will come to you on that matter, is that, a lot of times Biden has said, I would do things, I have a plan, but he has no plan. And I keep asking the same question. So what would you have done differently Had you been in Trump's shoes? The answer is nothing. I've spoken with many Democrats, and none of them have any other plan, except, as Shobhaji very rightly said, let the problem continue and fester. And that's the sad part, because that's one thing which irritates me the most. You know, as the saying goes, in the doctor's life, things happen many times. People will come with the same problem. But for the patient and the family perspective, that's my first and last, perhaps. So at least show me the courtesy of doing something about it. So my question here is that, you know, coronavirus, Wuhan virus, I call it Wuhan virus. It started there. And I say that where is the accountability factor for this one? You know, for petty crimes, people go to jail. Here, trillions of dollars evaporated. Millions of lives are gone. New York City is a ghost town. I mean, if I tell you the story, my lawyer friend from Grand Central to his Fifth Avenue office, he's accosted every day by 3 or 4 homeless people. They tell him, give me your shoes, give me your jacket, give me your tie. That's the kind of conversation is happening in Manhattan today. His client was asked, give me $20. He took out his wallet to give $20. They said, your wallet is nice, give it to me. Take your watches off. That's what is happening in Manhattan. Penn Station is no longer worth visiting. It's unsafe. That's the situation of democratic run. And it's all driven by the tragedy of Wuhan virus. It stalled the US economy. What do you think the United States needs to do now to get on to the, you know, why is it that United States hits the hardest? Biden is throwing, you know, what do you call scare tactics that 200,000 people will die, additional 200,000 people will die by January or February. What is going on? Tell us the politics of corona Wuhan virus and the medical solution to Wuhan virus going forward.
So Vibhuti, it's unfortunate that the Wuhan virus or China virus has entered into politics, and they are using, you know, these terms like so many people, 200 something dead, and then if it was Democrat government, probably there will be more deaths. So it has become completely a hot potato for politics. But as far as science is concerned, they are working on the vaccine, and everybody, you know, the entire world is working on it. And I don't know when it's going to come out, but there is likelihood, you know, I would take what President Trump says as a, you know, he knows more than I do, or he probably knows more than what Vice President Biden knows. So he's telling us, reassuring us, but at the same time, the politicians are, you know, both sides. And basically, I think Democrats are trying to pin the blame on President Trump as if, you know, he could have done completely different. But when President Trump asked, or this question was asked to Vice President Biden, what he will do, he did not have much more to say other than flashing his mask many times, you know, that, yeah, people will wear masks. And is that the final answer? I mean, ultimately, we have to coexist with this virus. And by the way, you know, people leaving New York and other states, Maine is seeing a property boom. Every property on the water is being sold in 2 or 3 days. So, I mean, Maine is a big state with a small number of people. So there is kind of people coming to Maine, you know, to find some place where they have like 300 acres or 30 acres, you know, they can live in some isolation. But politics of coronavirus, well, it's happening in India as well. So somehow this virus, and then there was example about H1N1 virus when Vice President Biden was there. And did they do any better job? Doesn't look like. So I think from what we knew and how it has evolved, now we know more. Now we can treat the symptoms better, and the vaccine is coming by, and the economy, we can't shut the country down forever. So I go along with President Trump, who says a plan, who tells a plan, whereas Vice President Biden just wishy-washy thing and just put the blame, and that's not going to fly.
That's right. It is not going to fly because this requires an action and a response. Democratic Party has neither action plan nor response. Just as
Which is just
they
to
don't have an economic plan, they don't have economic agenda. I call Democratic Party having no economic plan, but having economic agenda. The economic agenda is that everything that they offer for free, who is going to pay for it? And I'm going to tax you to do that. So that's important to understand. Vandana ji, I'm coming to you now on a different subject matter. That is the cry of socialism that is happening in this country. This country is what it is because of the capitalist principles they followed: performance, productivity, and profitability. You have to perform in the battlefield, in the sports grounds, and in the every arena of your life. You have to perform, and you have to create reserves and surplus to reinvest. As a banker and an economist, student of economics, I always understand the more the money multiplies, the more economy circulates in action. That's what creates money. That's the true meaning of other people's money, is that when it comes to you in a multiplier effect. Point which I'm trying to raise is, why is this sudden desire for the left, led by your Ilhan and AOC and Tlaib and others, to make shift America, fundamentally shift America, change America, the cry that Obama gave to the country? What is this fascination with socialism? Will America ever accept socialist practices?
Vibhuti ji, I would be only able to talk to you about my experiences.
Sure.
When we start a business, you know that we start, 1 out of 4 businesses are supposed to be dead in this country. It's such a heavily competitive field. You are not guaranteed any success in any business, right? So you start with scrounging with whatever you can. You take used furniture, you take no salaries, you try and keep working and keep making a success of what you're doing. And this is what happened in this country when they came as pilgrims. They really worked their butts off and created a country which was then very attractive to the world. And everybody wanted to come in and get a slice of the pie, because this was the ultimate, the beacon, the place for everyone to come and realize a successful life. Now, I see this as a kind of an importation of politics from all over. When immigrants come, when refugees come, when politics comes from their countries and their situations, then comes in the religious pluralism and all sorts of ideas. This idea that, this is a melting pot really is not. We are all trying to learn to coexist. And I think the young people who have, for the first time, finding it difficult to live a life that even their parents are. If you ask my kids, what is your idea of success? They say, well, maybe able to live like you. So the idea of despair and despondency in kids, in young people everywhere, Arab Spring dried up faster than a small oasis, and globalization, this idea that Tom Friedman thought that, oh, the world is going to be a fabulous Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and everybody's going to sing Kumbaya. That doesn't exist. People have become more fearful of each other because obviously we all have this sense of self-preservation. And I think that is what is driving the young people and the people who are then using their ideas, using their emotions into creating this idea that, oh, if only you will let socialism come, or if only you can let communism come, or something like that, that we can make lives better for you, because we have over 50 million homeless people. We have such a large number of poverty as in like American sense of poverty, not comparable to what is around in the world. I think the Americans are not as well informed about what goes on around the world, how lucky we are as people who live in a democracy. We are the people who are using more than 25, we are less than 2% of the population and use more than 30% of world's resources as people. So this whole idea that you should educate people to maybe reuse and then recycle and learn to live with what you have, not just keep coveting, not just, man, I think there's just a huge cultural shift that's happening in America. I think that ideas are being put forward, and I think there's a lot of predatory instincts that people and politicians have who are using these very innocent ideas towards their own, grabbing power. So I think Ilhan Omar is a very well kept strategy in the larger picture. I mean, she's just one symptom of the larger picture that is going on in this country, is my.
That's very well said, very well explained. Thank you very much. And Ravindraji, if you are a technology entrepreneur, so from that point of view, let's talk about the era of technology. It has brought about tectonic shifts in the lives of people. And what I find is that what I have experienced socialism in India, democratic socialism, and Vandanaji was right that Americans have no clue what socialism does to the body politic and the systemic damage it does to the whole process. So let me share a little bit of my personal part of it. In India, as we all know, we have all been there. So we know, so I'm not telling any secret or something new. We all compete. We are being assessed right from the moment we are born. Class 1 job to get school, finding a good job, you are always competing. And we are examples of those who survived. We had one additional element in us, that we took the risk of flying to 10,000 miles away to start our life. So we are people who look for a life that America offers, an opportunity without government interference. My experience of democratic socialism is it is centralized power, and they establish equality for the sake of calling it equality. But it kills innovation, leadership, entrepreneurship, because sarkar or the government becomes the mother and father of everything. As the Hindi word goes, mai baap. Sarkar becomes a mai baap for everything. So it kills your incentive, initiative, innovation, entrepreneurship, leadership completely. That's something which America will never be able to acknowledge. And I'm saying the Democratic Party survives on the mechanism of creating dependencies. Whereas Republicans are telling you, come to America, work hard, make your living, fulfill your American dream. Democrats say, don't worry, you are here, we will take care of you. That's a European socialism that they're bringing here. So the question here is, will America and Americans realize this? Or do you think that the immigration formula has skewed so badly that we are beyond repairs?
No, definitely, Vibhuti is a very important point. So we need to see something the way it is changing. We are having two great people here on the show itself who were some time back Democrat and now they are changing to Republican. There's a reason for this. We can again fool people for some time, but fooling people in the long run never works. So we need to think like this. It is okay to help the people, but helping people always in the short run. In the long run, you need to promote innovation. You need to promote capitalism in the sense that people can compete and then we have a better product, better services in the world. Why do we hold power? Because you always challenge yourself to the next step, and that is how people grow. If you give free stuff to people have no incentive to work. So it's okay to help the people in the short run, but you can never compensate their the innovation and all this technical competency in the long run. So that is what they are trying to bank on the very short term. Let us entice all these immigrants who are coming, and with let us get to the power. Doesn't matter how, doesn't matter what is going to happen in the long run. And then they need to realize the majority is again realizing all those things, what is going behind the scene. And that is the reason a lot of people are changing their loyalty from Democrat to Republican. So the funny part is that the way the established principle in America, the way you work hard, you improve yourself, you don't only improve yourself, improve the society, improve the life. Look at the kind of research happen in medicine or space. Will it happen without capitalism? Will it happen without promoting the skill set, without promoting the science and medicine, all these things? Never. So they are just living. They are just trying to capitalize in the short run by promising very negative thinking, by promising all these freebies, by promoting socialism. And people know down their heart it is not the long run goal, and they are going to face the consequence of their short term tactic very soon. So beyond any question, when even if you go back to Darwin theory and Lamarck theory, the whole evolution is based on the competency. it's just where it's so foolish that they believe they can change the narrative based on the media, based on like promoting all these like freebies.
That's
That's
a
quite
very important point, and I'll come back to Shobha ji on that part of it, because you and Vandana ji became Republicans after being Democrat for a while. And I find from what Ravindra ji is saying, and my thought process is that Democratic Party creates a dependency. I find they indulge in intellectual gatekeeping. Don't question me. I am right. You do what I tell you, we'll take care of you. So there is an intellectual gatekeeping where they do not encourage conversation, debate, and dialogue as to what is good. And like I say this all the time, is that the American dream is not about a Ferrari or a Lamborghini and a beach house, or a West Hampton beach house, or a Hawaii beach house. It's about living a decent, respectful life, for work as much as you can. You can lead your respectful life with your family without any pressures, and you are enjoying your life in the way you want to lead. That life is under threat. And that is because the Democratic Party is not actually taking care of people, but actually victimizing you and I. Because you and I are in the highest income bracket. They are charging us, like, think about it, 50 cents a rapper. He has chided Biden, who has already talked about across the board 10% hike in taxes. So Shobha ji, your thoughts on that?
For sure, for sure. Because I mean, one is the taxes. I can start with just that. Because of 10 cents, he says he didn't want to go to 20 cents from 50 cents. He didn't want to go from 50 cents to 20 cents. So he's supporting President Trump. I mean, jokes apart. See, I fully agree with you. I couldn't have put it better. We all are in America to become the best expression of ourselves, the best version of ourselves. Most of us are from, many of us, I should say, are from middle class, upper middle class, comfortable, settings in India. And the America for me was about being able to get to the medical, the healthcare, the best version of what I wanted to become. That's what pulled me to America, number one. And if you keep kind of shortening that version, if you limit people, then that's as un-American as you can get. Because being an American is your sky is the limit. That is America. What you put in, you can expect to go beyond and that, and you become the best version of yourselves. And I completely agree. The Democrats are actually creating the narrative for you. They are kind of telling the society how it should be created, and that way they cater to actually communist philosophies. And socialism doesn't work in healthcare. I know, for example, Canada and Britain, I mean, when they have socialism, to get a bypass surgery in Britain, it takes 6 months because their hours are capped at 5 p.m. So for that, the British government is actually flying many patients to countries like India and the Philippines to get their bypass surgery done. Here, I could request a surgeon to get it done, within, as emergently as we want. And they have the incentive. I mean, of course, they are the best intentioned doctors everywhere. But the system is such that they're going to stay. They're going to drop everything else that they're doing, that they plan to do, and they're going to get that surgery done for you. And I think the Democrats are striking at the root of that philosophy itself. And consumer protection is going to go out the door when we really cater to such ideology. And also in universities, trying to limit the number of people based on race into admissions. It's very un-American. It's very disturbing to even hear that news.
I read that news. I'm glad you brought that up, because there was a news I read just last week that the number of schools where high school children are admitted for as extra talent in science, maths, and things like that, they're trying to bring about race equality. That's something, it's like telling Michael Jordan, you can't score more than 30 points because somebody else has to score 10 points to feel good. That's something which baffles completely, because performance is not something God has created all of us unequal. None of us look alike, but we have identical body parts performing the same function. The question here is that there are individual differences which are ingrained in us. And that's what I say, the intellectual gatekeeping by Democrats, that, don't worry, you are all equal. No, we are not. If that were equal, then everybody would be 6 feet tall or 5 feet 6 inches tall. Everybody will be as beautiful as a person you think is the most beautiful. But it's not true. There are differences. Individual differences are ingrained in us, and they will remain so. Somebody is a writer, somebody is a poet, somebody is a cricketer. Sachin Tendulkar and Virat Kohli did not have to go to MIT or IIT, nor did Kobe Bryant. He was a school dropout, but the greatest basketball player along with Michael Jordan. That said, I'm thinking about this. How does one, as an Indian community, how we are educated community, like people love us. I know this. Indians are respected in America, but we don't have the clout. So Vandana ji, how do we build that clout? How do we demonstrate that we mean something? How does Indian community build clout?
So I totally agree with Shobha ji, and I agree with you, Vibhuti ji. This is how we build clout. The four of us are doing what we can. I think you are doing exceptional work. I really have admired you for a very long time, watching you. We just go out and do what we can. We go in and I've been talking to my neighbors. Half of them are happy, half of them are angry. I've lost lots of friends. All my friends who thought, oh my God, you've gone retrogressive, you've gone down. You know, I never, for this is for the first time in my life, I actually am going and I'm feeling I'm an American. I feel this is my city. I cannot let this happen here. I'm going and talking to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, including all the public officials. I wrote letters to everyone that I could think of, including the city councillors of my city. And I think as Indians, we have done the gritty work. We have, first of all, I think as Indians that we came here to pursue a better, I would say, professional life, not really life, because I think all of us would have been successful in India also. We would have had good lives in India, and we did have good lives in India. So there was a contractual Indian immigration here where we were bringing in we were educated at a very subsidized price. We came here, we got good jobs, we asked for very little, we worked very hard, and we are known as these people who are just there, they will work. We've never made sounds and bites about what we want and what we expect others to behave towards it. Whenever my kids will say, oh, you sound Islamophobic, I was like, no.
Vandana ji, as passionately we were discussing all this, the time has run past me. I mean, I was observing the time and we have run out of time. So, it's coming to a close. So we will continue this dialogue and I'm sure you will come back again in one form or the other. So, but one last question and one answer from all of you. How many electoral college votes is Trump going to get? Ravindra ji, aap bataiye. Number.
I definitely, I'm counting more than 300 plus, Vibhuti ji.
All right. Krishna ji.
Yeah.
Krishna ji.
Yeah, I will go for 300 plus as well, like Ravi ji. There is one point I just wanted to add on Vandana ji, is that yes, we want to go and be part of the American society, but we should stay authentic you or authentic me.
That's a good question. Vandana ji, how many electoral college votes for Trump?
I definitely think that he is going to get a lot more than last time.
Okay.
But I would not be happy to give a number. I'm a Libran, so I keep the diploma well.
Shobha ji, what about you?
I'm hoping the silent majority is going to bring our president home. I would say around 315. And any more, I would gladly take.
Thank you all. It has been a wonderful conversation. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed being here, and viewers, I hope you enjoyed it. So with this happy note, go vote and exercise your franchise. Have a great weekend. See you next week. Thank you all, one and all of you. Thank you very much.